Wellness is about learning to love your whole self. It's about assuming charge of your life, living in process and channeling life energy. It's about choices. It's about the one way to wellness, your way. It's about you. This is a quote from Dr. John Travis. Who is John Travis, you may be wondering? John Travis was a medical doctor who was trained in the late 1960s. He didn't care for medical school very much. He thought the drill in medical school was basically to be quiet, don't ask questions of the professors, diagnose your patients, and give them a prescription for a medication. In the early 1970s, when he was out on his own, and after reading a book called High Level Wellness, he decided to take his time with patients and try to understand how their lifestyle may be impacting on the particular problem they were presenting with. Why am I interested in John Travis and telling you about him now? Because several years ago, I had a loved one who was diagnosed with chronic, progressive, and fatal illness, at least is deemed by Western trained doctors. And I couldn't accept that. So I had to learn about wellness and natural healing fast. One of the courses I took was a course based on a book by John Travis called The Wellness Workbook. In it, he described the wellness energy system, which is comprised of 12 dimensions of wellness. Today, I'd like to tell you about the first dimension of wellness. Self-responsibility and self-love both comprise the first dimension. John Travis likened wellness to a bridge, where the two piers holding up the bridge, one is self-responsibility and the other is self-love. Basically, they form the foundation of wellness. If one is weak, then the whole bridge is compromised. But when both are strong, then energy can flow easily back and forth across the bridge. Self-responsibility means being aware of your own physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual processes and taking care of their needs. Oftentimes today, people rely on others to fix their problems. How many people do you know who rely on prescription medication to cure their ills? Have you noticed how many commercials there are for pharmaceutical companies on the evening news? As a society, we've been told that there's a pill to fix almost any physical or psychological problem. However, if we're to really embrace wellness, we need to look within ourselves for answers as a necessary first step. Taking responsibility for our health means recognizing that we have choices and that these choices have consequences, both good and bad. It's important to note, though, that taking responsibility for our health doesn't mean that we no longer consult with doctors. It just means that doctors are not in charge. They're part of the team of people who help us stay well. We're the ones in charge because we know ourselves better than anyone. Self-love can mean being your own best friend, being true to yourself, even in the really hard times. Accepting ourselves with all of our real and perceived flaws and being compassionate with ourselves. As compassionate with ourselves as we would be with a stranger who's going through a hard time. When we're going through a hard time, we can just say, this is really difficult. What can I do to comfort myself in a healthy way? You know, all of this is relevant because in today's society, chronic diseases abound. More than a third of U.S. adults have obesity. Consequences of obesity are heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and 13 kinds of cancer. Chronic diseases are responsible for 7 of 10 deaths in the U.S., and treating their symptoms accounts for most of our health care costs. I'd like to end with a story about a woman who showed herself responsibility and love. Dr. Sherry Stanek was a young physician in 1995 when she was suddenly struck with MS. It was devastating for her. For years, she followed the Western-trained doctor's treatment for MS without getting much better. Then one day she came across a journal article that said people with MS who ate blueberries had improved symptoms compared to people with MS who didn't. She couldn't believe it. She was astounded. She never heard of anything like this in medical school. She did more research and found similar findings. So she decided to come off all of her medications and adopt a whole food plant-based diet. Amazingly, over time, she got better. She could walk better, she started jogging, and in 2010, she completed a marathon. When she'd run across her colleagues and share her story of healing, many of them, unfortunately, did not share her enthusiasm. Nonetheless, today, she has her own practice and teaches her patients to show themselves responsibility and love in their lifestyle choices. So I'll just end by asking you, what one small thing have you done or could you do today to show self-responsibility and self-love?